Hey, feel I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's a stick up.
Hello again, YouTube. If you've ever flown one of these, you'll be familiar with a video feed that looks like this. Join me as we remove all the internals from one of these and put them in one of these. How much better that looks. Look at that. Look at that little fella there. Look. Okay, so this is the pre-build checklist. We've got the drone for spare parts, check. Beer, check. Bardwell one in the background, check. It's a frame, yep. Money off my next purchase. But when I find out what I'm missing, sweet, yep. Kids will have that. That's it. She's big frame. Okay, yeah, we're ready to go. GoPro. We don't need a GoPro mount on here. Get rid of that. 1, 2, 3. That's the easiest thing we're going to take off. Battery straps. Done. Okay. Cool. Ducks. These ducks are why they make these ducks. Look at it. Look, you can't get to the USB unless you have to remove half of the drone, 4 hours work, and then you can plug a USB into it. Anyway, we're going to carry on. Right, that's only the second duck. This is 8 times speed, and we're only up to duck 3. Yeah, it's painful. So I'm glad to see the back of this one. Yeah, that one's got stuck. Yeah. Why do they make them like this? Yeah. Okay. Still working on this one bolt. There. Yeah. No. Yep. Easy. Yeah. I thought we was gonna have to break out an angle grinder on that one. And the rest of these then to the bit there, and more bolts. 3 hours and 200 bolts later, the top plate's off. There we go. Right, get rid of them foam things. Straighten those up. That's probably the most important thing. Okay, next. Right, props. This need props no more. Yeah. We'll see if these props work on the CineRat, but I doubt it. We're probably going to want to change them. Okay, props. Save your nuts. There you go. Get rid of those. Done. Props out. Mental note. And write it down. Carefully remove the heat shrink around the antenna. There we go. Yeah, get that off. Don't cut through the DJI antenna. Wiggle that. I'm just going to cut the TPU here because I'm not going to remove the antenna from the Vista. It's a pain in the ass. Right. Okay, now we got the Crossfire nano receiver. Carefully remove this so as not to damage the antenna. There we go, and wiggle it, done, no problemo. Okay, stack nuts. We've got a Mamba stack with a Vista in the back. Oh yeah. There we go. Use solid bolts if I can. Solid metal bolts on everything, really, with little rubber dampers underneath, even on the Vista. Obviously on the flight stack, but even on the Vista, little rubber gummies underneath with a solid bolt right through. Oh, it's got ventilation. It has ventilation. I don't like just gluing that heat sink down to a carbon frame. If you can mount it in a way that air gets top and bottom, it still overheats on the ground in 5 seconds. But I think you're giving yourself the best opportunity, for sure. There we go. Where are we at? Right. Okay, motor bolts. When removing or installing motors, don't have 3 flopping around and 1 bolted up with 4 in. Just put a bolt in each, and then or 2 bolts in each. I tend to just do 1, then I'll go around and then put another one in, and it stops them all smashing around into each other when you're turning the drone upside down and flipping it round. Yeah, removing and installing works both ways. And we're out. There we go. Oh, it was so much easier to watch it back like that than it was to do it. Okay, prepare yourself for the CineRat. All laid out. Let's get the parts out for the CineRat. As I said, it has got a dip frame on it. It's not going to be light. Still figuring out what way round the legs go on this. So this is probably after a couple of Google searches for pictures. There we go. Yep, off screen. Excellent. Yeah, this is my first build doing any kind of overhead cam work, as you can tell. There we go. It does get better, I can assure you. Right, yeah, standoffs in, pretty standard stuff now, really. I just want to get stuff in there. Is it going to fit? Am I going to have to resolder or extend all of the motor bolts? Here we go. We're going for a bit of a dry fit in this now. Just get a couple of nuts on loose and see if any of it is going to fit. It's about the same size, really, without all the ducts. So I had confidence it was going to go. That's it, doing my best to damage as many connections as possible while I fling it all about. Excellent. Yeah, it's looking like it's going to fit at this stage. I was quite impressed. I was preparing myself to have to resolder everything on the build, but it all sort of like fell into place on this one. The Vista sits behind the camera with the flight controller stack in the back, which is fine, but it does mean the antenna for the Vista has got a long way to go, so it doesn't stick out as far as I'd like, but at least it's well protected, unlike the camera, which does stick out too far at the front. Getting little gummies and spacers in for the camera, always fun. So it locks it in tight. There we go. Yeah, and it still never locks it in tight. Oh, look at this. She's looking good. She's looking good. She's looking good. Now, finally getting a few extra bolts in so we can get that Vista bolted in properly. We don't want that flapping about. If it's got 4 holes, use 4 bolts. Unless one of them doesn't quite line up, in which case use 3. It happens. We've all been there. Don't file out your flight controllers and your ESCs to make them fit. Don't do that. It'll be a bad day. Getting the flight controller. There we go. All buttoned up tight. She's looking pretty. I did go back afterwards before I finished the entire build, and I run all the cables that are going across the top of the flight controller. I run them all underneath, in between the flight controller and the ESC. It tidies it up, and it also means you've got nothing flapping against your gyro in mid-flight, which you don't want. You especially don't want it on a build this small that's going to be a bit noisy, and it's going to take quite a bit of filtering to get this thing flying nicely. Okay, right, we're getting over the top plate. Figuring out a problem we've got with the top plate here. This needs to be mounted first, so we're going to mount that TPU, and then the top plate can go on. There we go. 1, 2. What way do we want this strap? We have no idea yet, so yeah, I'm sure we end up changing that at some point. And yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts for the top plate. Much better than the Bumblebee, which was about 160. She's in.
Okay,
she's in. There we go.
Up to the shed with you. Oh, sweet. What we got here? Dear God, I don't even know if I'm going to be using these yet, but yeah, why not? Okay,
right. There we go, a bit of shed work. Just going to get the heat shrink on the Crossfire receiver antenna and get that in there nicely. Shouldn't be so tight. If I'd have bought an Immortal T, I wouldn't be out here doing this in the freezing cold. Such is life. There we go, put that in there, and jobs are good. And another little bit of that.
A few moments later.
And here she is, guys. Look at her. All ready to go. The antenna's done there at the front. Oh, she's looking hot. Hot, hot, hot. Look at that. It's a beaut. Let's take her out for a test.
There ain't no next in line you'll find here. All you're gonna need, no greed and no fear. At least 3.5 to keep those
reached the perfection. This won't stop till the cops cut blocking with the 12 gauge stock sweeping me off the block. Cause show us wiggles, pop lock, my show got your Betty, your back guaranteed as the show shot. No Grady smash, just the ball head flash, multi block households and over carry bomb herb stash. Cause these days I pray when take flights. I sleep and smoke all day and work nights. Rock, right or left coast, it's only right I give a toast. That's the host to all y'all folks. Hi, it's Tommy Hitler for madness. As we throw down, we bring the six sides, so gather round. ¿Qué onda, muchacho? Arriba las manos, gabacho moreno, penetra tu barrio. Me insinúa rolas de rock back frente. Black again, esto pa' la gente. It's no coincidence, the 5'10", the Latin slang, push your brainstorm. DH in better form, and did I mention? DH will rock the whole damn nation. From block to block, it don't stop till we see the cops moving to a better spot. Hip hop won't stop, pop, lock, and break, maybe even skate. I get my tag for the flesh breaks, bringing real Spanish and damage. Those who imitate, try to emulate what they fake. Got your case, penetrate, stimulate. With a sound they love to hate. Put your hands in the sky, no lie, it feels good. And my track gets props in the roughest neighborhoods.
Okay, so summary. I love it. I have got the TPU ducts to go on. Oh, let me record this again. Okay, so what do I think? I love it. I have got the TPU ducts here for this, like that. So there. So if I'm gonna do any indoor cinematic cinewhoop flying that I would have done with this, then I'm just gonna put the ducts on, and then we'll fly indoors. But for the rest of the time, when I want to fly a bit of acrobatic freestyle, this was completely useless. This not so much. It struggles a little bit more with the run cam on, as I expected, but I do have DJI. I can always use that if I just want to go out and freestyle with a little 3-inch. I'll take the run cam off, and it'll be absolutely fine. The frame is thick. It will take a crash. It will definitely take a crash. This thing didn't even take a hard landing. We're going to try it with a GoPro on as well, but it's definitely going to be better suited to a lighter action cam, without a doubt. Anyway, and we'll probably try some new props, because these are not bad, but they're not great either. Thank you for watching. Next time we'll try and get out and do a bit of flying, but my whole family has COVID at the moment, so we're all isolating, but doing well. Have fun, fly safe, be respectful to each other, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.